Hello, folks. Welcome to Between Awesome and Disaster. This is your host, Will Carey. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate you being here. Today's feeling pretty good today. And part of the reason for that is, and I'll keep this short and sweet, is I just had a great conversation with comedian Gordon Baker-Bone here on the podcast here at Stitcher Studios. So and I hadn't seen Gordon in a long time, and he's a very funny comic. And I learned that his album that was put out on Comedy Dynamics, he produced and engineered himself. So it was really exciting to get to talk to him about that, as well as his plans for his second album that he wants to record. This is a really great conversation, and we ended up having a lot more in common than I had originally anticipated. Because like a lot of times on this show, I learned things about people that I've known for a long time, and this was really quite enjoyable. So I'm excited to share this with you guys. If you listen to this and think you know someone else who might enjoy checking out the podcast, you can let them know. We're available everywhere you get your on-demand audio programs, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify. And if they want to leave reviews on Apple Podcasts, that helps other people find the show. And I would, of course, greatly appreciate that. And if you guys also want to get a free month of Stitcher Premium, you can do that by going to stitcher.com/premium using the promo code AWESOME. That'll get you one free month of premium when you sign up, and that's another way you can help me out as well. Thank you guys again for being here, and let's go to my chat with comedian Gordon Baker-Bone. I've completely had that day before, so don't even worry about it. Like one time when I was in college, like I was like taking like 35 something credit hours working part-time doing stand-up and like shooting like short films for a film class. And I just slept through a film shoot and woke up to like a ton of missed calls, and I just I felt so bad. So my entire professional goal outside of like it being like my full-time job to not do that.
Did you ever study film? You studied film, I'm guessing.
I minored in film. I was an acting major, and then I minored in film because I figure knowing all sides of how to be creative is probably a helpful thing to do.
Yeah. That's the one thing I didn't do when it came down to filmmaking. I just went directing. I never wanted to be like I did in high school. I did stage crew. And in college, I minored in film, and I just mainly stayed behind the camera for the rest of the time. I never wanted to be in front of the camera, but
now that's interesting because you're a comedian now.
Yeah,
and I was a really shy kid. Like before my best friend bugged and harangued me into auditioning for the school play. Yeah, I was like a lonely gamer kid. I was like not interested in like going out and like socializing. Yeah, I was just in the room with the games, and that was all I was into.
I was kind of the same way in high school. Like people told me like I was a class clown, but I didn't see it. I just was the quiet kid that always, if someone said something to me, I had something to say back.
Sure.
So people thought that was me trying to be funny. I was like, no, I just wanted to keep people off my neck. So
yeah, exactly.
That's where like I guess the humor came from. And then not till college I decided to. Well, I got tricked into doing stand up.
Oh yeah, yeah. I kind of want to trace this. So where did you're originally from New Jersey, right?
Originally born and raised in New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey. I went to like grammar school from kindergarten to 8th grade in Newark, not too far from my house, and then high school. My mom didn't want me to go to any high schools in Newark. She wanted me to.
Sure.
It was either that or go to Arts High School. Arts High School is where Michael B. Jordan went to high school. Tisha Campbell from Martin went to high school, and it's a high school in Newark that you have to be very talented to get into. And I tried to do it with television production. And this is an 8th grader who had no resources, and I had to figure out how to make a storyboard. I tried. I did not do well and did not get into Arts High School. And then my mom was like, all right, we're moving. And she moved us, my whole family moved to Maplewood, New Jersey.
Maplewood.
Yeah.
Okay, so my knowledge of Jersey is limited.
Yeah.
I have a couple of ideas of Newark. I know that the band My Chemical Romance, like their origins are from Newark. And when they talk about it in their that documentary that came out a bunch of years ago,
Yeah.
they talk about like bodies and being disposed of in parks and like not being allowed to leave the house, just kind of like being really sheltered.
Here's the thing with Newark. There's how do I say it? It's every town has its issues.
Sure.
I grew up there. The image that the rest of the world has of Newark is something I go, oh no, that like you knew people. Like I knew people that stole cars, and I know people that did great things. I knew people that were up to no good, and I knew people that came to my town to cause trouble. Like
Sure.
all the people that came to like most of the negative stories that I hear from Newark are from people not from Newark.
Of course. That's how I feel like that goes most of
Yeah.
the time. You know, every crazy thing I hear about New York City is from my dad,
Yeah.
who's never come to visit me in 10 years I've lived here.
Exactly. That's the crazy part about it. Like anytime I get so triggered by it now.
Sure.
Because as soon as someone says Newark's bad, my first thing is, what were you doing there?
Sure.
And it always goes into a terrible story. Like this one guy was in a bar after a show. We were having a good time, and he goes, "Man, Newark is terrible." And I was like, "Oh, like what? Like tell me what happened to you there?" "Oh, it was like 3:00 in the morning. I was going to go buy a bag of coke." And I'm like, "Dude, you came to my town to commit a crime, of course."
Yeah. Yeah, you're on a bad start already.
You're bad to start already. Like I understand that. Like no one's ever had a terrible story about someone coming to Newark, going to Newark Library, or coming down to Rutgers for a basketball game, or checking out Newark's museum. Like, oh yeah, I got mugged in the Newark Museum. Nothing like that. It's always someone there up to no good. But I get it. My town does have its issues.
Mm-hmm.
Like people can say like with Cory Booker right now. Like he follows me on Twitter. Like I invited him to a comedy show. I actually literally bumped into him.
Oh really?
At the Whole Foods in Jersey. He's like he's a cool dude, and I appreciate what he does for Newark. I really wish he would pick it up on the campaign front. But other than that,
Sure.
he
No, I like him too.
he's an advocate.
I've liked him ever since I read articles about him like driving around and like shoveling people's driveways. Like
he
on
really
Twitter.
did that. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's because I feel like so few politicians are willing to like actually get like do grunt work.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those jobs you get into because you don't want to like stand on your feet.
No.
For hours a day. But so when I see like a politician like literally like or they are recently of like a job that I would have had, like bartending or barbacking, like something like that.
Yeah.
I tend to like those people more because I feel like they're not too far removed from what real life is like.
Yeah.
In America.
Yeah. That's what I love about Jersey. Jersey has that. It has a personality that a lot of people don't know about. Like a lot of people don't know that much about Newark. They know it from rumor and mystique, so to speak. Everyone knows about Jersey Shore. Everybody knows about Atlantic City, Bruce Springsteen, Bon Jovi. They know that New Jersey, but they don't know Newark and the Essex County area, which is, I think, is filled with tons of culture that no one knows about. Like Queen Latifah's from the Newark area. SZA, the singer, who's out right now working with Kendrick Lamar, she went to my high school. Zach Braff also went to my high school. The Lucas brothers went to Irvington High School next to Newark. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Just a ton of like talented people come from out of that town, and I think a lot of people don't even know anything about that.
100%. Like my favorite concert venue in the entire world is the Starland Ballroom.
Ooh.
Which is they follow me on Twitter. We've had some great back and forths. That's like the greatest place to see any kind of live music.
I performed there like twice.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
it is amazing to be there.
That venue is incredible. And like most of my favorite bands from like because like I grew up on like pop punk and emo and screamo, all that stuff. Most of those bands are from New Jersey.
Yeah. Where you from?
I grew up in Southern Maryland.
Okay.
Like really rural Southern Maryland.
What county is that?
Calvert County. So about an hour south of DC. Interesting little tidbit. If you get on Pennsylvania Avenue and drive south, you will eventually get on 2 and 4, which is what you would turn off on to get to my mom's house.
Really?
Yes.
Damn.
So I like to call my mom and say, hey, what's up with that noisy neighbor in our room? What's good? You gotta get him under control. And where I'm from, and this is and it's interesting. I'm glad you asked me that because I was just talking to Gastro Almonte, who's from like East New York, and I was describing like growing up in like really remote Maryland, not even like suburban. Like where I grew up isn't actually called a town; it's a census designated place. Is a bit I'm working on. Just a big enough group of people that the government's got to get involved. and I would tell him about like growing up in this really remote setting, and he kind of thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of jealous of like the neighborhood community aspect of even a rough part of New York, like East New York. And he seemed like he thought it would be cool to grow up amongst like trees and water and
but like 'cause it's a mystique with that. Like if you grew up in a classroom, like because I went to a Catholic high school in Newark, Catholic grammar school in Newark. Queen of Angels, they tore it down by now. It was like it was a landmark, but then Dr. King spoke there years ago, but like they lost some lawsuit and the property got bought. Yeah, but like the classmates that I had, because we grew up, we went through grade school together. We had such tight knit community. Like I can see that in a small town. Like if I had that type of community, I would love that. But like I had my friends in school, and I had this whole big town of friends that stretched like for miles. Like I had friends that went to multiple schools, and like but we all lived on the same block, and it was like totally. So crazy how we all like related. So like I could get how. Because that does seem pretty cool. Like, because when I was a kid, all I wanted to do was go out to the woods. My mom would send me to this camp out in New Hampshire once a year.
Oh yeah, that sounds nice.
That shit was bananas. Like I've never saw like a forest before until I went to camp in, I think, second grade.
Oh yeah, no, I had so many of those like classic like American moments you hear about. Like I grew up like. I have all these memories of like fishing with my dad or like shooting BB guns with my dad, like all that Norman Rockwell stuff.
Yeah, that sounds like a painting that you would just like. Oh man, that sounds like a Stephen King novel. Like, what do you?
It's not too far off because that was like the environment I was around. Like the demographics of like the top employers in that county are like people who either work for Calvert County, and then it's the public school system. That's I think the draw. I haven't done the research, but like the schools are very good, and it's considered like a suburb of DC. Like one of my neighbors was like he was a lobbyist. And so I would like do like yard work for him, like to get extra money during the summer. And he had like peacocks and like pear trees and all this.
Wait, he had a peacock?
Had a peacock, like straight up like NBC, like with the tail and everything.
Did he explain why he had a peacock? Was it part of his lobbyist job? Was he working for NBC? Like,
I think he just wanted one.
Okay, all right.
That's the life.
It's pretty exotic. All right.
That people around me were living. I wasn't necessarily living that. I was just in there with my N64. But and then so you go from Newark to Maplewood. What's like the vibe of is the vibe of Maplewood drastically different?
Drastically different. Ninth grade was the first time I've ever been in the classroom with a white kid. So like my ninth grade year was kind of crazy because I thought everything was a competition. Because like I went from just all black school environment to this diverse, what they call diverse environment, where like I'm one of
like five in
that class. Yeah, but like the thing about Maplewood and South Orange, it is a 50-50 split with black and white kids, but they have like levels, so you have to test into certain levels. So I tested in the AP and level 4, and I wasn't comfortable there. It was a bit of a culture shock for me. I didn't really feel like because I was used to everyone having a JanSport, and then I see like everybody have like LL Bean book bags, and like kids were making fun of me for having a JanSport. I'm like, I don't know what LL Bean is, and like so it was just like it was a weird environment. I was just like, all right, fuck this. I'm moving down. I moved down 2 levels, and my mom still is mad at me about this, just so I could feel comfortable and I could be around other black kids. And I was acing the classes, and just she was like, you're not even challenging yourself. And I was like, but I feel comfortable.
Yeah, no, exactly. I could see how that could get real weird real quick. I had a couple of like AP classes that I drastically had to move down in because I had to be comfortable.
Yeah, you have to be comfortable. Like I don't think a lot of parents realize that, like when they move their kids very quickly. Like I wish that like my parents like would have had like a better talk with me, because I was very nervous when I moved there, because 1, I didn't want to be there. 2, I didn't like the environment or the vibes I was getting the first year. I played soccer like my first year. Like I was the most talented kid like on the soccer team. They was born to move me up to from freshman to JV, and then I just went, nah, I'm just gonna stop. And I just walked off from that, and then that's when I started stage crew out of nowhere. I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to play sports. I just wanted to hang out and try to figure out what I wanted to do. So that's when I got into
You're kind of looking for your like a tribe almost.
Yeah.
Did you grow up in like a creative house? What was your what was your home life like?
My home life is pretty dope. My mom, she was a cheerleader in high school, lead cheerleader in high school and college. She went to Rutgers. She graduated, I think, at the top of her class. She became a teacher. She started her own sorority or chapter of sorority at Rutgers in New Brunswick. My dad studied like math and accounting, engineer. Like he was a bit of a partier, laid back type dude, but like he's Guyanese. So like we have a big, lovable household that's always filled with music, always filled with like playing sports, playing music, and just doing something. So it was no free time for me to, like if I wasn't doing something after school, I would be at home probably doing something that they would have instructed for me to do.
And what did your mom teach? 'Cause my mom was a teacher also.
Oh, okay. All right. That's something else we got in common.
Yeah, we got a lot in common, man.
She taught elementary school. She was my teacher in 4th grade. She taught at the school I went to. And then from there, she moved into the Newark Public School District, the same place that she didn't want me to go to. She started working for. And she's now still teaching there. She did they moved her around. She did like 8th graders, and they moved her down to like 2nd grade, whatever they needed to demand. Like she was the utility, and she would always excel. She got her master's, and then she became like the assistant principal, and now she's like the dean of discipline for the school that she's at right now. So
that's great. Yeah, my mom taught 4th grade as well. Before I was born, it was like mostly 2nd and 3rd, and then it was 4th and 5th for most of her career. She taught for 31 years.
Oh wow!
And I still like whenever I go home, I will run into people who she was their teacher.
Isn't that crazy? Like how people recognize you through your mom more than anything else. Like people don't know that feeling. Like it's the one thing that like my mom doesn't like that I do comedy about. That doesn't do like that I do comedy because she's so used to like whenever we go out, people coming up to her and going, "Oh, you're Ms. Bones' son," and like. And one day, somebody walked up to her and was like, "Oh, you're Gordon's mom." And she was like, No. That's not how it goes. So, like, that was the coolest thing, like, about having because my mom taught so many people. Like, I used to be nervous about doing shows because I was scared that, like, someone that knew her would go back and tell her, like, what I did on stage. And now I got to a point where I was just like, whatever. And now, now I think it's an even split. Look, people know me and people know her, so I think that's the battle that we continue to have.
Yeah, no, totally. Because my biggest fear, because I was never my mom's student, but I was in the classroom that I was in the school that she taught in.
Yeah,
and then the other school that I was in for like 1st and 2nd grade was across the field.
Okay,
so if I fucked up ever, it got back super fast.
Did they ever make you go to her classroom if you did something wrong?
They never made me go to her classroom. I used to, I would go to her classroom and like wait with her class like until everyone got on their bus. But, they never made me like go and say, "Go tell your mom what you did."
No, they did that to me. Like,
that sucks,
dude. Like I would get in trouble and go like, "Go to your mother." I'm like, "What?" Like that's not. No one else has to do that. Like, why do I?
That's a whole different level. Because dealing with like your mom in work mode, I feel like that's an entirely different level of pain.
Oh yeah, I remember I got in trouble and they were like, "Go to your mom and you could take the test there." And I'm like, "What? This is awkward, bro." And I would have to go down to her classroom and like sit at a desk that I couldn't even fit in, and just be like, "I guess I got to sit here." And like, it was the worst. And it was like people laugh at it now, but it was just like, ugh. It's embarrassing. Your mom's at work and she's like, "Just get over there." I'm like, "Ah, damn it."
Yeah. My other thing is like if I ever had to like leave early, like if I was sick or something, I didn't get to go home. I just got to go feel sick for the rest of the day in her classroom.
Oh man, just sit in the back.
Yeah,
just
be like, "Oh, don't talk to me right now. I can't." So stage crew like is because my high school was my high school theater program, talking about like the lasting impact that the right teacher will have on a person.
Yeah.
My high school theater program was great because we did almost everything. Like
Yeah.
the adults would kind of like push us, guide us in certain ways.
Okay.
And Derek Anderson, if you're listening, thanks for everything.
Nice.
He directed the shows, but
Yeah.
like we were like building the sets. We were, doing our own costumes,
Yeah.
finding our own stuff, and because that's how we learned. And like I learned lights and spotlights. So
Yeah.
so you take to that pretty quickly while you're figuring out your journey.
Yeah, like stage crew. Our stage crew was pretty vast. I realized after I left, they started giving stage crew like their own varsity jackets and apparel.
Oh, nice.
So like they became like a big deal because they let us be independent. They let us, once the sets were kind of set, the stage crew manager would watch over us and let us like build it ourselves. And it was kind of, we got high school credit for it because we were doing like some carpentry and like working with tools and setting up the lights and working spot. It really helped me learn how to do production very well, and it got me. It gave me like kind of a understanding of what I wanted to do with it. It helped me understand lining like a shot and also setting the stage, and with photography, a number of things that like now that I do that I didn't even realize that it helped set me up for. Like I still do photography now. I still direct my own piece whenever I do feel like doing sketches. And whenever I do production work, like I feel like that is the core that I got it from.
I would agree with you because I definitely don't think I would have had the interest in like, okay, so people record comedy albums. I'm not going to get a record deal, but I know if I could figure out how to use this recorder and these microphones and then edit this all together, I could probably do it myself.
Oh yeah, I actually produced my own album.
Oh yeah, you did?
I produced my own album, and Comedy Dynamic bought it off of me. Like that was something I produced on my own, like because of stage crew.
Yeah,
I knew how to mic a room. I had floor mics, and I had overhead mics, and I had my
lav,
like
a lav,
and regular stage, and it's just like I sent it all through the mixer, and I mastered my own thing, and like all that came from understanding and working the boards in stage crew.
Yeah, I'm just like, my brain is just like popping right now.
Yeah,
I don't get to talk about this stuff very often. And did so doing stuff for plays, like were you big into theater before that, or
no,
did you get like
not at all
get into it from doing that?
I wouldn't say I got into theater. I learned more theater because of stage crew. I learned that it's just not musicals. There's black box productions that you could work on. There's one-man shows that you can work on. There's multiple things that you can do in theater that's not just a musical, and that needs a stage crew, that needs a spot, that needs so many vastly different things.
Yeah.
The production, but like whenever I watch a play now, I take notice to everything. So
yeah, I sometimes when I watch plays, I get nervous, like, oh, I hope this transition goes well, especially like when we would go to like festivals and I don't want to brag, but my year when I was in high school, we were pretty good. We were like one of the best in that region of Maryland.
Okay.
So sometimes I would see other schools go up and be like, just or like say, oh, I don't think that piece was supposed to go there, or stuff like that.
No.
Or even like on, I don't know if you saw that episode of SNL recently where they're doing like the round table and they're doing those really quick costume changes. Yes. And then A.D. Bryant's costumer got caught on camera.
Yeah.
And she just lost it when it cut back. I was like, I have been there. I know what you are feeling. I also think like, at least being around theater and doing plays, when I started doing stand-up, it felt very familiar.
Okay.
Like being on stage felt familiar, and then if anything, I was like, okay, I gotta write the words, but everything else I could just kind of explore the space or what have you. Like having that background, I thought was very beneficial for me.
Say I started in like a small terrible club. Well, I could say shitty club out in Jersey. So the stage was very small. It was like a bar, and it didn't have that same feel as like what I did at the high school level. So it made me feel a little bit more comfortable because like I was trying to get so far away from being like an actor or just like wanting the limelight, because I felt like that was like the selfish thing. It's just like it's all on me. So like I think that's the approach I take with my stand up now, is that I just want to be an extension of the crowd. So I just like I want to talk about what they see. So so I could be a part of them. Like I could be a voice for them when I'm up on stage, which is just essentially what stand up is, but I don't know.
And how did you get from I'm behind the scenes guy, I don't want to be the limelight, to I'm going to get on stage? You said you got tricked. Did you start stand up like when you were much younger, or did that happen later?
It happened in college.
And where did you go to college?
I went to Fairleigh Dickinson University out in New Jersey.
Okay.
Before then, I went to this school. I transferred twice. I went to after Columbia High School, I wanted to just get away from New Jersey, so I got a small scholarship to go out to Wilberforce University. I went out to Wilberforce out in Xenia, Ohio. I thought I was going to be out there for 4 years, and I realized I can't do Ohio for 4 years.
Right.
I think Ohio might be the worst state I've ever been in my life, and like I couldn't take it, and I was like, nope, I'm out. So I packed my bags and I went to Caldwell, and when I went to Caldwell, I started taking a Caldwell College. It was a Jesuit school, and I got there and taking public speaking. It was at 8:00 in the morning, and the professor, I can't remember his name. I gotta find this dude's name because I owe him so much. After like the third week, he goes, "You don't like coming here?" And I go, "Nope." And he goes, "Why?" And I go, "Because it's really early." And then he's like, "Oh, okay." He was like, "I think you're really funny," because like the first 2 speeches I did, he thought was really good, and he said he liked my presence up there, and he's like, "If you don't want to come back again, all you have to do is go do stand up." And I go, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, go do stand up at this club right down the road. If you go do stand up, I'll give you an A."
That's like the deal of the century.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't have to come back ever again. I just have to go and show. He's like, "Yeah, I know the guy that runs the open mic. I know that he runs it was an open mic / like kind of like bringer." So he was like, "You go do it." He says that you showed up, you get an A. So I was like, "All right, fuck it, I'll go do it."
And what was that show
at first, leading up to it, I was just like, I don't really care. And I'm telling people, yeah, I'm going to go do stand up. If you guys want to come see me, I'm going to look stupid up there, but, I'm going to go do this. And my friend's like, "You're not going to go do it." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm going to do it. Why not?"
Yeah.
I got to get this A. He's like, "If you guys want to come check me out, come." So I get there, and like when I get to the club, I instantly am like, "Oh, I want to do this." And because I'm seeing everyone's pictures on the wall, like I see like all these like other great comedians on the wall, and they're like, "Yeah, they perform here," and I'm recognizing some people from TV shows that I've seen, and I'm like, "Damn, all right, I'm gonna be on that same stage that they work on." That's kind of impressive, and I'm getting in my head, and like I don't want to embarrass myself, so I get up there, and the set probably stunk, but I did it anyway, and as I was up there, it just felt great, and I got off stage, and I was like, damn. I remember I called my girlfriend at the time. I was like, "I think I want to do comedy." And
that quick.
Yeah.
Cool.
And she was like, "What?" And she was like, "You're not even funny." And I was like, "I know, but I think I want to do this."
My fiance says that to me all the time. She's like, "You're not. I'm the funny one."
Yeah.
She thinks she's like naturally funny off stage, but I think sometimes non-comedians think that. Something that I hate on Twitter a lot is if you just say something that's false and then say you're joking, that's a joke.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that.
Just kidding.
And then sometimes my fiance just she'd be a great roast comic, actually. Like if she was gonna be,
she's got that fire to her.
Oh yeah, and because she's used to. She has a background in New York politics, so she's used to like firing back at reporters and swerving.
Oh yeah,
and swerving people when like you need to give like hard questions, and like but then also being able to say something like really powerful and important.
Yeah.
When the time comes for it, it's It's quite impressive to see, like,
I
when
bet.
she does a speech. But she thinks she's the funny one. But I'm like, well, I'm funny. I can be funny on stage. You don't quite have that.
Yeah. Two
And
totally different muscles.
yeah, and was that what was the name of that club? Was it a club
It
or a
was
bar?
Rascals.
Rascals. I remember Rascals. Like when I
Yes.
think of like those old like DVD, those old DVDs you can get of
Yep.
stand up. A lot of them were filmed at Rascals from
Yep.
like the 80s. Those like those
And-
like stand up showcase things.
And like in a couple days later, that place closed down.
I know, because I remember trying to like when I first started getting into stand up. I remember like trying to go like being on Comedy Soapbox and trying to like find
places.
and
So you were on the same path I was. I was trying to find places to go do stand up.
oh yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, as soon as like I did my first open mic and it went decently well, and I kind of was like, ooh, I found my thing, because like I had soured on bands at the time because I had a bunch of bad experiences with bad people, and then and the good people I was in the bands with moved away, and I wasn't gonna go solo because I just don't have the singing voice for it. So
I believe in your voice. You could probably carry a tune.
Oh, thank you, man. But then when I was like, oh, maybe I'll focus my energies into this. This will be good. I was like, where can I get up? I'm curious. So what year was this?
What year was it? I think that was 04.
This is 04. Okay, so okay, so I'm thinking about where I was at that time. I'm curious about, because New Jersey's comedy scene has always interested me because I feel like they can get lots of the New York acts because it's so close. But my only concept of clubs in New Jersey are the Stress Factories. So you got to be big to headline there. And then there were those Uncle Vinny rooms.
Oh, they hate each other.
They do?
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And then Rascals, which then closed.
And it closed down. Jersey's had such a weird comedy club history because a lot of places open up but they close down very quickly.
Right.
Because like it's a small state but it's a big state. Like we have so many people stacked on top of each other, but when it comes down to comedy clubs, they feel like there can't be any competition with each other. Like like everyone goes to Stress Factory. People don't know this. The audition spot for Def Comedy Jam used to be in New Jersey at this place called the Peppermint Lounge in East Orange, New Jersey. And that used to be like one of the big, more urban rooms that everyone used to have to come through. Like Bill Bellamy used to work out of there. He's from Jersey. Who else used to come through there? Bernie Mac. Like everyone that got on Def Comedy Jam had to go through Jersey first. And a lot of people didn't even know that. And like it's just so crazy how much culture that we have in that whole state, and no one knows or talks about it at all.
That's so interesting. I guess I had always thought that those that Def Jam specifically was all in New York.
Yeah.
And then I did know comics who had Def Jam credits in DC also. There were some of the DC guys that were there, got on that show as well. Was that big for you when you were? Were you a fan of comedy before you did comedy?
Yes, I was. I didn't know why I was a fan of stand-up, but I remember my mom used to watch Eddie Murphy's Raw. It wasn't Raw.
Delirious was the red. Raw was the purple.
Purple, yeah.
Okay.
Delirious was my first experience. I was a child, and I remember my mom. I'm laying in the bed with my mom, and she's trying to tell me to go to sleep, and like I just remember like I wasn't even like in first grade. Like I remember I was younger than that, but I just remember her laughing at it, and I kept looking over, and I remember just seeing, because we had a small TV. I just remember seeing like a little red man in his big blue set, and I just see her like cackling, and every time she laughed, I would like look over at the TV, and she'd be like, "No, just go to sleep," and I'm just like, what is going on? And that's the first stand up I remember seeing my mom watch, and then later on, growing up, like my family's Guyanese, so like they would all get together like on the weekends and hang out, and they would watch Def Comedy Jam, and like the kids would be in the basement, and they would be upstairs watching Def Comedy Jam on TV. And I would sneak upstairs and just like listen to them like watched Def Comedy Jam, and that kind of like left a mark on me. And that's how I learned about Dave Chappelle from that. And from there, I still wasn't like a big fan of stand up. Harlan Williams was the comic that I found funny because I saw the movie Down Periscope. And he was making these funny sounds. I was like, all right, this guy is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then he was on HBO. And then after Harlan Williams' HBO special, Dave's came up, and I'm like, oh shit, I like this a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember I recorded it, and I used to listen to it all the time. And that's what got me into got me more enthusiastic about stand-up.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, so you do this set, and then you're like, comedy is going to be the thing, and then you're just trying to find like any stage you can go.
Yeah, so like when I was looking for any stage, it went from doing terrible open mics in like shitty dive bars in terrible parts of Jersey to eventually me heading down to Stress Factory. And I was down at Stress Factory doing their open mic for a while, and then after a while I didn't really feel it, and I was like, because like I like Stress, but at a certain point you gotta get out of there, because a lot of people in Jersey, they think that they could I'll just stay here, and like everyone from New York will come find me. I'm like, that's not how that works.
Yeah, that's. I have a lot of some friends. Like I'd always thought that as well. Like when I started doing stand up in Baltimore, I was like, there were only a couple of spots, but I realized I cannot continue to be here. Yeah, because there is a cap. Yeah. And then I would see like. And again, I would see kind of some of the same like older guys like that here have these credits. I'm like, okay, well, if you have these credits, you know, why are you still in Baltimore? Exactly. You know, I kind of started thinking about that. And again, no disrespect to those people. Like there's so many different ways to like have a thing in this business. But I wanted to be in New York, and I wanted to be like one of those guys that like runs and does a bunch of sets. There's no right way of doing this business, but I could tell you how I did it. I didn't stay in one spot. I traveled out of town just to do like other shows in other towns and other bringers in other towns. I hit up bookers that were running like small bar shows just to get some stage time here and there. I was going up to Boston when no one knew me up in Boston, and just like tried to just get like on things and submit it for festivals, and just like anywhere that had open mic or a showcase or anything. Yeah, I went out there. I just didn't wait. I just like I that's one thing about me. I don't like sitting still. Sure. And I'm a type of person that like if I really want to do something, I'm gonna go do it, and I get very bored if it's the same all the time. Yeah, and especially if you're even just doing comedy in like the same place all the time, you will become like almost like there's a sports analogy for this. If I had to think about like a specialty hitter, I guess. Maybe. Yeah. Like you can do this one very specific thing that is very useful, but then there are people that can do all these other things. Yep. That's why I always wanted to play everywhere. Yeah. I wanted to do the alt rooms. I wanted to do the clubs. Wanted to do the black rooms. I don't think there's a ton of Latino rooms in New York, but I would do them in a heartbeat. Dude, that's the one thing I don't see from a lot of like mainstream or white comics that I see in general. Like your willingness to go out there and do other rooms, because like a lot of comics I see, they just stick to one room. I realize I've been doing, that's another dope thing about Jersey also. Like I've done there's like a huge Indian community in New Jersey. I've done rooms in their towns. I've done the up in Patterson and in Elizabeth, that's like a Spanish neighborhood, like Dominican and Puerto Rican. I've like in North Newark, I do shows up there. Like I love New Jersey because how diverse it is. And like you can't limit yourself just knowing one thing. You have to know everybody. I agree. So if you don't, like, you're cutting off your nose, like you're just like you gotta diversify yourself. Yeah, and I don't think there's anything. I don't think anyone ever their comedy career was ever like hampered by appealing to too many different kinds of people. Oh, definitely not. You know, I feel like I used to think that like I used to think that like, oh, like those comedians, they're too like their material's too broad, it's too like, But then like as I get older, like, there's something like Gabriel Iglesias, like I developed a very newfound kind of respect for him because he, not only is he like super friendly, but he's playing these big shows and appealing to so many different people on like real life stuff. He, travel stories, family stories, like that's a skill.
Yeah.
That's a great skill to have in comedy, I think.
And like because of that, like I get so weirded out when people hate on like people because they found their crowd. Like that makes me that's so disheartening. Like how you gonna get mad at somebody for finding where they're wanted?
Exactly. That's the whole entertainment industry.
Yeah.
Is find where you're wanted. That almost sounds great. Like if Gary Owens can live in Walnut Creek, California, and can end the headlines and sells out shows around the country, isn't that what we're all trying to do?
Yeah.
And you think cruise ship comics comics who do cruise ships are lame?
Yeah,
like
they get paid
like high 5 figures.
Yeah. Like dudes that do college shows now, you're like, oh, you're doing a college show, you're placating the kid. Yes, this is where I'm wanted. Yeah. This is where they need this, and I am supplying this. Why are you mad at me for supplying this field? Like, if you don't want me to have this field, then you come over here and you do it then.
Exactly. $2,000 for an hour of telling food jokes to 18-year-olds?
I'll do it.
I'll do it in a heartbeat.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I would do that quickly. Any cruise ship, or if anyone ever wanted to book me at Mocha Lounge, I think up in Harlem.
Yeah.
The worst thing that's going to happen is it'll be uncomfortable for even if you bomb.
Yeah.
It'll feel rough for while you're on stage, maybe afterwards, but then you will survive.
Oh, dude.
That's kind of how I think about it. I once did a show internationally in front of a crowd I learned that later that didn't really speak English.
Oh, God.
It sucked while I was on stage, but it's a great story.
Where were you?
I was in Istanbul. I was in Istanbul, Turkey, and I was a little cocky because I had done an English language show in Barcelona done well. So I was like, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to become the king of comedy in Istanbul. and the shows there are so out of sight, man, because there's no real host. Like somebody kind of introduced me and then just like tried to like give me the mic, but then didn't give me the mic.
Yeah.
And then the headliner, who is also a really tall guy, he did an hour, then he took an intermission, and he did another hour. And I was asking my fiance, do you understand what he's saying? Because she kind of understands Turkish a little bit.
Yeah.
And he's doing like, typical like crowd stuff, like, oh, wine drinkers, whiskey drinkers, like that kind of stuff. Okay. Stuff that would go over really well, like Friday Late Show.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's not all so different. And then he came up to me and started speaking to me in Turkish, and then I was just like, and then everyone bursts out laughing. But I'm glad I have that story.
Playing the role, man.
Yeah, man. I wanted to ask you a little bit of kind of about creating and recording your album, because it's something I've been thinking about the last couple of years. I was talking to Gaster about this as well. Just like, so you record it, you set up your own album recording and recorded your own with your stage crew knowledge. So what was your technical layout for that? You had floor mics and then you had overhead mics.
I had floor mics. I had overhead mics. I wanted to make sure that it felt like where I recorded at was 10th Street Live. It was where I ran my monthly open mic, weekly open mic.
Yeah.
That was like pretty successful for a while. And once they were like closing down, I wanted to make sure I did it there, because like it had
special.
it had a special place in like my career and things that I experienced, because like I recorded that album to get rid of all this material I had from a long time ago. And I wrote it while I was with this person, and I was like, nah, I don't want to do these jokes anymore, and I'm ready to move on past the material.
Yeah.
So after that, like I just made sure I had the keys to make sure that if you're going to record your own album, make sure you have someone manning your board for you.
Yeah.
Make sure you have someone, if you're going to have a camera guy, make sure the camera guy is all synced up with your boards and your masters. For the room I had four floor mics. One was on the tables in front of me to get the crowd. There were some overhead in the back I kind of wish I could go back and like fine tune certain parts of it, because I did make the room sound bigger than what it was. But
I listened to it. The recording quality is really good.
Thank you. But like there's small things that I hear that I'm just like, I could have fixed that. But I just make sure that you have a decent person that has sound knowledge on your team, because you can do everything yourself. You can, like, a lot of people are doing things with cell phones and boom mics and lav mics and having professional production work out of it. You just have to educate yourself about it. And just the key is in my opinion, have a mixer and have someone that can sit back there and keep an eye on everything for you.
Yeah, you definitely need that, because nothing sucks more than like if you're trying to make a tape and then you find that like you hit the button didn't hit, or like somebody is just like in front of the camera.
Exactly.
No, nothing hurts more. And getting a tape in New York is so. Trying to do anything in Newark when like the crowds are like, oh, I might never get this amount of people in a room ever again.
Yeah.
So you release this independently, and then you shopped it around. What goes into the business decision behind that?
The business decision behind that was I was gonna just put it out myself, but I just wanted to see what kind of, who would want it and would they like it. Once they listened to it and they said they liked it, and I was like, oh wow, that was easy. Like next time I feel like I'm gonna go full independent, and I feel like I'm gonna do my own distribution and then figure out everything on my own. That's next time.
Sure.
I'm working on my second album now. I'm very excited about it. I'm gonna produce it again. I'm planning on distributing it myself, but I feel like that's a little bit more difficult, but it's something I'm ready and willing to take the challenge for.
I think you can, man. Like if something Gasser said to me was like, for like these kind of independent projects, he seems to think that publicist is like very necessary.
Yes.
Getting any kind of traction.
Yes.
So that's definitely something that's going to be in my head for when I record something. I'm in a band now. So like I do tons of. I think about this stuff all the time, because this is all stuff that's very cool to me. Yeah. Because I feel like, and I don't know if it's just from like watching like high profile figures and finding out that heroes of mine are terrible people or like did terrible things, stuff like that. It all feels like it could all go away at any instant.
Oh yeah.
And I especially think that a way to get security in a field, a semblance of it, is to be able to like have as much knowledge over all aspects of it. Creation, distribution, like all of the business sides of it.
Yeah, like my first album was my learning experience, and I was happy that I recorded it myself. I was happy that I had influence over like my artwork. I was a little bit eager with like certain things, but like this time around, I know, and I'm educated and I'm versed in what I need to do to make sure that everything comes out right. I like what I see what a lot of comics are doing now. They're putting out their own stuff on like YouTube, or they're going with like smaller companies, and they're trying to, like, if you could get your album through a smaller company and get that company to help it get on to XM and things like that, because all is access. Yeah. Once you can figure out how to get to those things, you'll be fine. And it took me a while to understand that, like, because when I first started comedy, I thought it was just wait for everyone to come get you, and this business is not like that. This is a business where it's like you have to go get it.
Yeah, I think so. Like I definitely remember reading somewhere like, oh, don't think about recording an album until someone asks you to. Like,
no,
I don't think that's the way it works anymore. And it's cool to me because it's like very much like DIY. It's stuff that like bands have been doing for years. Yeah, like punk bands have been like doing their own records, doing their own printing, pressing, zines, house shows, all of this kind of stuff. And I feel like comedy is now starting to take on some of those
that renegade punk rock phase.
Yeah, those practices. And now that if you can do it, why not do it? If anything, just to me, not only is the final product great, but just the joy of having done it And what a sense of accomplishment that is.
It's insane how many people are scared to make their own show.
Uh-huh.
You ask a comic, hey, do you run your own show? Oh, no, I just get booked. All right.
Yeah,
You got to have something for yourself. It's okay to have something for yourself that people could come in and try to be a part of.
mm-hmm.
But, I don't understand just sitting around waiting. You got to go do it. Grab the bull by the horns, man.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. One more thing I want to ask you.
Okay.
So going into your second album, that's what you're working on now.
Mm-hmm.
Are you conscious? Are any conscious creative decisions going into to make sure that it's different from the first?
Yes.
What are we? Where are we at artistically? Because
storytelling.
Awesome. I love talking about this.
I want to be more personal. My first one was a lot of jokes. And yeah, I proved that I could write jokes. I proved that you gotta get a sense of who I am through the jokes. But this time, I kind of want to tell more personal stories about what I've been through, where I come from, and the reason why the jokes are the way they are. So
yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm excited about it. And I'm also nervous about it because I'm gonna get very personal, and I feel like a lot of people are I don't really care anymore. But it's I feel like I'm just gonna tell my side of the story and just let the cards lie where they lay.
Yeah,
and just have fun with it.
Absolutely. I find stories have more longevity than your. With a couple of rare exceptions, like Skanks for the Memories, I always like going back and listening to that. But
okay,
stories, I think and the long form stuff, that's the stuff I feel like has some real longevity. The fact that Bert Kreischer ends all of his stand-up shows by telling the Machine story, and people are excited to hear it. I feel like that's really powerful. Because to me, I wrote my thesis on that. At the core of all human communication, I think even before we developed language, is storytelling.
Yes.
It's at the very, very building block. That was like fire almost.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that form has is really rooted in the DNA of the species.
That is who we are. We love to tell our legacy. We love to tell we just love to tell something that brings people closer together, and something that has moral, something that has value, and something that is relatable. So, and I feel like I have a bunch of that, and I want to talk about awkward stories that everyone has experienced, but they just haven't had someone actually vocalize it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
I don't want to tip my hand too much, but is what I've been working on, and I'm excited for it, and I'm hoping that it goes as well as I hope.
Well, awesome, man. And when you're going to record that, you think you'll do that this year? Or?
Yes, it's definitely going to be done before the end of this year. So
awesome, man.
I'm excited for it.
Well, that's great, dude. What can we plug before we get out here?
You can find me. You can find my first album on all social media platforms and all streaming platforms also. It's called Gordon Baker Bone, Nobody Just Me. It's on the Comedy Dynamic library. You can find it on YouTube, all that stuff. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at @bakerbone.com. It has my link tree on there, and you can see all my upcoming shows and dates and buy tickets for my new show February 29th. It's called Drunk Black History. It's yeah.
I saw that.
Drunk Black History is going to be in New York at Cavot. It's just a bunch of comics getting hammered, and we're telling Black history from our perspective. And it's not just about Dr. King, Malcolm X. It's unique figures from Black history that you never heard of. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Dude, this has been so great. I feel like I haven't seen you for a very long time.
Yo, right?
So I'm really glad that we got to chat.
Dude, I'm so happy I got to do this, man.
Absolutely, man. We got to do some more shows together soon.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we got to hit up the storytelling shows.
Fuck yeah.
Dude, awesome. Thank you so much, Gordon.
No problem.
Okay, folks, that's our show. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you to Gordon Baker Bone for your time and hospitality. I had a great time chatting with you, man, and I can't wait to hear that new album. I think it's going to be great. If you guys enjoyed this and you want to support either me or Gordon, you can listen to his album. You can download it or stream it wherever you get your comedy albums, and you can listen to Between Awesome and Disaster wherever you get your podcasts. And I also want to give a shout out to my supporter on Patreon at the awesome producer level, Mary Beth Mooney. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to check out some of the Patreon exclusive rewards, you can go to patreon.com/awesomedisaster. Check out what I'm doing over there. And as always, I appreciate you guys listening every week. I love doing this show, and I get a lot out of it. I hope you do as well. And thank you guys again for being here, and I will see you next week. Between Awesome and Disaster. Take care, everybody.